Chess.com Global Championship. With $1 million in prizes. With the globe's best chess players.
And again, if you look at some of the last tournaments over the last even 2 years, they are all FIDE World Championships, they are FIDE candidates, and they are FIDE Grand Swisses and FIDE World Cups. I sort of get it, because imagine just a group of random people decided that they would make a rival to FIFA. I don't know what they would call it, but like, nobody's really stopping them, theoretically. I think there would be some problems there. I don't think it's that easy. I don't think you can come in and call yourself the Doodah World Cup. Like, you can't just make another acronym and just call yourself the World Cup. But in this case, I don't know. Does FIDE have World Chess Championship trademarked? Do any of those words count as intellectual property? That's where it gets a little bit weird. And if somebody did try to organize their own World Championship, I'm not a lawyer at all. It's not even close, but I can't even begin to surmise what a body like FIDE would be able to do to stop them. The only thing that I can think of is that they would control the players from playing, right? You can basically say, you could go play in those events, but then you can't come back and play in these events. And that might be also what this is about. I don't know, right? That I haven't spoken to the parties. But I'm just giving you all the information. Now, let's talk about freestyle chess. Freestyle chess burst onto the scene in February of 2024. They organized the Freestyle GOAT Chess Challenge. It had a lot of words. It was organized at the Weissenhaus Resort near Hamburg, Germany, and it was a spectacle. It was a high production event with a lot of money poured in, and ultimately it couldn't really be replicated without, again, the generous efforts of Jan-Henrik Buttner, who probably spent close to $1 to $2 million out of pocket. And in November of 2024, Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana met on a yacht in Singapore. There was a bunch of footage of this, photo shoots, etc. Then they played in a bank vault and so on and so forth. They had a press conference. And in between that, they raised $12 million from Left Lane Capital, based right here in New York City. And with that money, they will be organizing the Grand Slam Tour, which has an event coming up again in Germany, then in Paris, then in New York, India, and South Africa. And apparently now there is a Freestyle Chess Players Club with 25 players, invitation only, from around the world. I'm getting kind of a Formula One vibe. Like, put the package in a box, go set it up in a city, put on a big spectacle for the fans and for the players, and keep it moving. Freestyle chess is a disruptor of sorts. On the one hand, you kind of see the Magnus effect. Magnus has been saying classical chess, particularly the openings, aren't TV friendly. He's not a huge fan of classical chess in this part of his career. He's not playing a lot of classical chess events. Now he has financial backing to put on this epic spectacle. He will play in all of these events, and he is by far the biggest attractor of eyeballs, maybe second soon just purely by numbers to Gukesh, but it's obviously, Magnus is the superstar of chess. And freestyle is both good and bad. It's good in the sense that it's a completely new product. It's got huge backing, and it could operate as a sort of auxiliary sports league, I pronounced that word a bit poorly, in the world of chess to traditional classical formats. On the flip side, chess is hard enough, and I feel like 90-something% of you watching are like, yeah, I struggle to remember the moves of the London and the Caro-Kann. I can barely understand chess commentary unless it's broken down for me. Now freestyle gets even more crazy because they spend 15 minutes on the first 3 moves because there's no openings. So it's good and bad. And I think that's any sort of innovation in any sort of field. It's going to be positive and negative. If done correctly, it should probably do more good than harm in the long run. Ultimately, I've said the same thing time and time again in the world of chess. I think top players should feel the effect of the chess boom more than people like myself. I mean, a YouTuber, despite what you may think of me, whether I'm a good educator, good communicator of the game, really handsome, really smart and quirky, thank you, by the way, thank you for all those compliments, I still believe that the athletes should be the stars. And that's not really the case in chess. And we're trying to get there, but the only real way to get there is to find the sweet spot of how to present chess as a TV sports commercial product because sporting events have tickets, and chess really struggles to pack an arena, considering everybody in the audience can use a little device that can give them information about the game, and you can somehow, get that to the players. And also, chess requires total silence. It's not so simple. So I'm really excited to see how freestyle chess is able to innovate. I'm actually going to be there February of 2025. I will be helping put on the event in Germany. Then I won't be involved for the next couple, just due to traveling and so on. But I want to bring as much chess as we can to the masses in whatever format they find interesting. And with that, we should talk about the final component of this video and why it matters, because there's a precedent to all of this stuff that's currently going on, and that is the PCA. Here's the short story, all right? I'm not a chess historian. I wasn't even alive when this was happening. So I'm going to give you my kind of Cliff Notes version. Garry Kasparov was the first of his kind to push for an initiative like this. In the year 1993, he was already multiple-time world champion, admittedly against Anatoly Karpov. He kind of defended his title repeatedly against one man, but he was set to play Nigel Short. And due to various issues, which I've read had to do with the announcement of the venue, probably disagreements of the prize fund sponsor, whatever it might be, ultimately, they kind of rebelled. They didn't play the World Championship under the FIDE banner. They played their own World Championship. They ended up calling it the Classical World Championship in 1993 under the PCA. And their major sponsor was Intel, which is, I mean, you talk about getting a big sponsor. That's a big sponsor. And then in 1995, Kasparov played Anand, and this was at the World Trade Center. Like, you can't get chess on a bigger stage. All this time, meanwhile, FIDE is organizing their own thing. So there are two world champions for the first time, I think, ever. But in 1996, the Intel sponsor ultimately fell through. And then there was not another world championship for Kasparov until 2000, which is the world championship that he lost to Kramnik, and that was organized by Brain Games. There were still two world champions until 2006. There was a reunification title match between Vladimir Kramnik and Veselin Topalov. Some of you might remember this as Toiletgate, but yeah, that was the reunification bout. So for 13 years, the sitting world champion, the lineal world champion, let's call him the Francis Ngannou of chess, because Francis Ngannou is was the UFC heavyweight champion, but he stepped away. Nobody actually defeated him to take his title. Garry Kasparov created a whole lineage of world champions that ended up having to reunify with FIDE. So to summarize, we have four very cryptic pieces of information out there, and the last of which was put out this morning, December 23rd, 2024, by the president of FIDE himself, who said, next week, I will put out a bigger statement. But then you have the Hikaru video saying, we almost skipped the World Rapid and Blitz, not really elaborating on that, just sort of dropping the mic. And now the president is saying, well, maybe after the World Rapid and Blitz, we'll talk about it. I don't know what's going on here, but it seems like there's a lot more than just these posts. Is it simply a matter of freestyle wanting the World Championship rights? Do they want to call it the Freestyle World Champion? Or is there something bigger bubbling under the surface, which ultimately could lead to there being a whole series of tournaments that are not under FIDE banner and ultimately lead to a rift where Hikaru, let's say, does not participate in the candidate cycle or the World Chess Championship? I don't know. But now you have all the information. I hope this was a useful providing of context for you. And, my final thoughts, like I said already throughout this video, are having an international governing body of the game does give a level of stability. To have a ranking system, and they do a lot of good things. But when that governing body also owns the rights to things like the World Chess Championship, and there are even questions about it existing, like, should the format be different, right? Should the system be different? Should the FIDE circuit, where Fabiano and Arjun are crushing each other and rules are changing every single year, should that be different? Nobody really has an easy answer, but like Hikaru's point is saying, most top players are now not earning their money, a major share of it, through FIDE events. And that's big, because that could mean some changes are waiting in the future. I don't know. So, that's all I have for you today. World Rapid and Blitz starts in a few days. You can still claim the lowest price on Chessly for now until December 31st. You know all my other, promo stuff, so get out of here.
Get a credit card annual fee waiver and earn Scene Plus points.